All employees of PSC should attend a monthly stewardship meeting. All levels of management should have a meeting with their direct reports. Location and account managers should have a monthly meeting with the location supervisors. The supervisors should also have a meeting with all the field employees. These meetings should last approximately 1 hour. All of these meetings at all levels should follow a predetermined 4-point agenda. The following video will discuss these agendas and show examples of what these meetings should look like. It is best that these meetings are attended in person, but if necessary, they can be done by conference call. Using something like Uber Conference is good, where the attendees can see the PowerPoint, or they should print off hard copies of the presentation. All managers and supervisors should take approximately 45 minutes to an hour to prepare for these meetings. This is time that should be spent gathering, organizing, and deciding what information will be gone over during the meeting. Most of the information you will share should have been gathered while you performed your stewardship activities throughout the month, such as quality reviews, V&Vs, and LPSA conversations. You should look over the stewardship reports from the database at this point and decide which ones you will discuss at the meeting. You should make a PowerPoint presentation or supply hard copies of the information so the attendees can follow along during the meeting. All levels of management should have monthly stewardship meetings with their direct reports. Area manager meetings are used to share learnings from previous month LPS stewardship activities. Have managers share best practices, coach direct reports on LPS improvement topics, and hold direct reports accountable for improvement. Area managers should also share what was learned during their monthly stewardship meeting, led by their vice president. The 4-point agenda for all manager meetings is the following: LPSA stewardship, quality reviews, V&Vs of tool solutions and tool protocol, standard LPS stewardship reports. The following is an example of an area manager's meeting following this 4-point agenda. Managers should share a personal experience in their LPSA field-level stewardship from the previous month. What did you learn related to employee use of the LPSA and supervisor stewardship? Any difference among supervisors? What supervisors are lagging behind? What feedback have you provided supervisors? And how are you holding them accountable for improvement?
Guys, I had a chance to visit 2 of your locations in the field and had some good LPSA conversations with the employees in the field. They all had their LPSA cards with them and talked about how they used them to go through the 3 steps in the LPSA process. One thing that came to my attention when I was in the field was that not everyone is having LPSA conversations, and it doesn't sound like the supervisors are having their weekly LPSA conversations with them. JP, what are you seeing out in the field?
I think at my location, the guys are using the cards and having a good LPSA conversation. I would agree that not all of my supervisors are doing a good job of stewarding the LPSA process weekly. I think some of them do not understand the correct way to have an LPSA conversation, and that is why they don't do them that often.
So what do you think you can do to help those supervisors who are struggling have better LPSA conversations?
I think I should go out in the field and help them do some LPSA conversations till they feel more comfortable doing them.
That sounds like a good plan.
Managers should share their personal experience while doing quality reviews from the previous month. How many did you do? What tools? What did you learn about supervisor quality checks? How did you provide feedback to supervisors and line chain of command regarding root cause analysis, factors, solutions, and so on? What did you learn from performing QRs of manager QRs? How are you using results of your QRs to develop and mentor supervisors to improve root cause analysis and solutions?
Let's move on to quality reviews. Last month I did 6 quality reviews and I concentrated on just the LPO tool. I did at least 1 quality review from each of your locations. Most of the LPOs, it looked like the observers are putting good comments on the back of the form whenever they see a questionable item or a significant positive item. I know that this is what we said we'd work on last month, and it looks like you guys did a good job of coaching that. One thing I noticed is almost all the LPOs is the guys did not do a very good job in the positive comment section. Several of the LPOs only mentioned 1 or 2 positive items, and very few of the LPOs mentioned what losses they were avoiding by doing those positive items. Let's work this month on the positive comment section as a group and see what we can do with that. Alfonso, what did you see during your QRs last month?
I did 4 Q&Rs last month, 2 on NLIs and 2 on LPOs. I felt like the guys did pretty well on the NLIs. Their factors matched the root cause, and they came up with correct solutions. I did have a concern with looking at LPOs. One of my observers found no questionable items, and when I checked other LPOs she never seems to find a questionable item. So I have asked one of my best supervisors to do a few observations with her, see if she can improve on that.
Great, Alfonso. That seems like an approach that could help her do better observations.
Managers should share their V&V activities for the past month. How many V&Vs did you do, and how did you do them? How are you developing your supervisors to improve the effectiveness of their V&V activities?
Let's move on to the V&Vs of Tool Solutions and Tool Protocol. This month I had a chance to do 3 Tool Solution V&Vs and performed all 3 out in the field. So the New Jersey office had an incident where the boom hose on an air mover swung around and hit an employee in the face. The incident was a first aid but could have been much worse. The location came up with a solution to create a tie-down system to keep the hose from swinging. When I was at the location this past month, I went out on the job and inspected the truck and saw that the tie-down system had been put in place. All the employees on the job said that it was working correctly, so I think they have come up with a good solution. Jeff, tell me about your V&V activity this month.
I had a chance to V&V 2 solutions while I was out in the field. One from a near loss where the driver of a box truck was carrying some oxygen bottles in the back of his truck and they were not properly secured. The driver gave his commitment to do a better job of securing the bottles going forward. I went out to a job site where that driver had the same box truck, and this time he had the bottles properly secured. He also remembered his commitment and said he understood that leaving the bottles unsecured could cause an explosion.
That's a good example of doing a V&V on a personal commitment.
I also had a chance to do some tool protocol V&V while I was out there with that individual. He had recently done an observation on manhole cleaning job. I had a chance to confirm that he had prepared for the observation by reading the JLA for the task. He also watched the observee for a good 30 minutes. It doesn't sound like he had a 5-minute overview with the supervisor before they did the feedback session, so I think that this is something I need to work on with my group.
That was a good catch. Why don't you all check on that this month at your location? If that is happening at Jeff's location, there's a good chance we have it happening in other places.
The last agenda item is for the managers to review the stewardship reports from the LPS database. Managers should study each of the reports beforehand and select 1 or 2 of the reports to discuss during the meeting. Managers should rotate which reports they share each month.
Let's look at report number 3, questionable items by LPO type. Some of you are below the 50% range. We would like to see the LPOs with questionable items. JP, your location seems to always be in the 80% range. What do you guys do different that your observers find questionable items so often?
Well, in general, we make sure all the observers are preparing for the observation and watching the observees for the correct amount of time. But I think the thing that helps the most is that if we have an observer who is struggling to find questionable items, we have a supervisor help them with several LPOs to show them what kind of things they should be looking at.
That sounds like the same thing Jeff was discussing earlier. Thanks. Let's use that as an action item this month.
During the meeting, the manager should take notes of what items the group needs to work on for the month and use that information to come up with an action item list. They can then follow up on the action item list at the next monthly meeting to see how they progressed in stewarding the areas they needed to work on.
Okay guys, great meeting. So let's go over our action item list. When discussing the LPSA, we said we would go out in the field and perform LPSA conversations with our supervisors that are struggling so that they would feel more comfortable having these conversations on a weekly basis. During our Q&R discussion, we said that we would work on our positive comment section on LPOs to make sure they have 4 to 5 significant items and list what losses they are avoiding by performing those items correctly. Our V&V discussion showed that some locations may be skipping the 5-minute supervisory overview before the 6-step feedback session. So we need to do some protocol V&Vs to see where we may be having this problem. And the last action item is having supervisors do LPOs with any observers who are struggling to find questionable items. I'll type up this list, get it to you, and then you guys can report back during next month's meeting on how we did.
Location and account managers should have a monthly stewardship meeting with the location supervisors. This meeting is a chance for the location and account managers to share what they have seen the prior month while performing their stewardship activities, and provide guidance to supervisors to improve LPS performance. They should also share what they learned during their monthly meeting they had with their area manager. It is also a chance for the location and account managers to prepare their supervisors for the upcoming meeting they will have with the field employees. This meeting should follow the same 4-point agenda as the area manager meeting. LPSA stewardship, quality reviews, V&Vs of tool solutions and tool protocol, standard LPS stewardship reports. The following is an example of a location or account manager meeting following this 4-point agenda. The manager should share their personal experience in LPSA field-level stewardship and find out from the supervisors how well they think the LPSA is being used at their location. The discussion should mirror the LPSA discussion had during the area manager meeting shown earlier. The discussion should involve what the location is doing well and what the areas are for improvement. Most of this information should come from the weekly LPSA conversations the supervisors have with the field employees.
I think that most of the guys are using the cards and having good LPSA conversations at the beginning of the job, but it doesn't seem that they're conducting LPSAs throughout the day as often as they should. When you guys are having your weekly LPSA conversations, make sure you ask them when they should be doing LPSAs so we know who may need some coaching. What are you guys seeing out there when you are stewarding the LPS process?
Just as in the area manager meeting, this is the chance for the location manager to discuss what he saw as he was doing his quality reviews of the tools during the last month. Although the supervisors do not do quality reviews in the database, it is their responsibility to do a quality check on every tool they put into the system. They should be able to discuss who is struggling with the LPO or NLI-LI processes, and be able to talk about what they are doing to coach those individuals that need help.
Guys, I did a quality review on 2 LPOs and 2 near losses this past month. It seems that we are coming up with external factors on a high percentage of the factor category. If you guys come up with an external or even organizational factor, make sure you have asked enough questions. Remember, we should end up with personal factors around 90% of the time. So what are you guys seeing and working on when you're doing your quality checks on the job?
This is the chance for the manager to share what he has seen while doing his V&Vs of tool solutions and tool protocol. The supervisors should also be able to discuss their V&V activities performed throughout the past month.
Guys, we had an incident last month where a crew got caught by the client without a permit. Your solution was to retrain that crew on the permitting process and get their commitment to never do that job again without a permit. I went out in the field last week to V&V that solution, and that crew had all their paperwork in order. They also communicated and they understood that they always need to have a permit, and they knew the consequences if they ever got caught without one. I also V&V'd the use of the JLA while I was out there. The guys are using a JLA for every task they do. I think we need to work on the site-specific items they are writing on the back. Some of them are just very generic statements with no proper mitigation steps. What are you guys seeing out there as far as JLA usage?
The last agenda item is for the managers to review the stewardship reports from the LPS database. Managers should study each of the reports beforehand and select one or two of the reports to discuss during the meeting. Managers should rotate which reports they share each month. This is also when the manager should have a discussion about any of the tools in the system that are still open.
As we discussed when we went over report number 3, we had a very low percentage of LPOs with questionable items. I would like you to have a discussion with the field employees on why they think they find such low percentages of questionable items. I would also like you to go to report number 8, which shows what they have been finding as questionable items. You should discuss with them why we keep finding a lot of PPE issues on the LPOs.
Just as in the area manager meeting, the location manager should keep an action item list and go over it at the end of the meeting.
So for our action item list, I wrote down 3 items for us to work on. First, from an LPSA discussion, you guys need to do some coaching with the field guys so they understand all the time, throughout the day, they should be doing LPSAs. Secondly, from our QR discussion is the fact that we are getting too many external factors, so we need to work a little bit on asking enough questions. And the last item is I would like you to look at the site-specific items on the GLA and make sure they are not too generic. Try to work on these items this month, and we'll discuss how you did at next month's meeting.
In summary, every PSC employee should attend at least one LPS monthly stewardship meeting. Meetings should be held at all levels of the company. Each meeting should last about an hour and take less than 1 hour to prepare for them. Each meeting should follow a specific 4-point agenda. These meetings are one of the most important parts of stewarding the LPS system. This is a chance for the entire company to talk about what we accomplished the month before and what we need to work on to improve the quality in which we use the LPS system at PSC.